You may be seated. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Were there any problems in the overnight? Did anybody try to have contact with you about this case? Could you simply not resist the urge to discuss it, do any independent investigation, or did you intentionally or unintentionally receive any information from any media source? Very good. When we left off yesterday, it was the defense case. Defense, call your next witness. Good morning, Mr. Scanlon. Could you please raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Very good. Have a seat. Please pull the microphone down to you.
Mr. Scanlon, will you start out by stating your name and spelling your last name for the record, please?
James J. Scanlon, S-C-A-N-L-O-N.
And you're from Columbus, correct?
Yes, sir.
What do you do for a living?
Now I'm a co-owner of a training company, North American SWAT Training Association.
And what does that do? Or what do you do with that company?
We conduct training for police and military personnel around the country.
Before we get into that, can you tell the jury a little bit about your educational background?
Well, I have a bachelor's degree in criminal justice from Ohio Dominican College in Columbus. I started off my career in 1978 with the Columbus Division of Police and went through the police academy at that time. Since that time, I have been...
I may interrupt. Mr. Matthews got qualified. Mr. Scanlon is an expert in use of force. We don't have any problems stipulating his expertise in this area.
Does the defense accept that stipulation?
Yes, Your Honor.
Very good. He'll be declared an expert in those areas.
Okay, Mr. Scanlon, can you tell us just briefly about your work experience?
I started in 1978. I worked patrol in the east side of Columbus for 8 years. I went to SWAT in 1986 and as a full-time SWAT section. I did that for until 1992. Then I joined our K-9 unit. I worked on K-9 until 1998, and then I went back to SWAT, and I finished up my career in SWAT until 2011. I've spent 33 years on the police department.
Okay, and how long have you been involved with your current company?
It's been about 16 years.
As part of your employment or your job, do you analyze police or officer-involved shooting cases?
I do on occasion do that, and I also train officers in shoot, don't shoot scenarios as well as tactics.
And have you testified as an expert previously?
Yes, sir, I have.
On how many occasions?
It's been 4.
Okay, and have you always testified on behalf of a law enforcement officer involved in an officer-involved shooting?
I have.
Have you ever testified against a law enforcement officer?
No, I've offered to, but I have never been retained to do so.
Okay. Did you have occasion in this, have you ever walked away from a case because that you were asked to get involved in?
Oh, I've walked away from more than I've taken.
And why is that?
If I don't believe strongly in the case, I don't get involved in it. It's not I'm a trainer. I don't go out looking for cases. Well, in this case I did, but I don't normally do that.
Okay, well, you've indicated to the jury that you came looking for this case. Can you tell them how you became involved in this case?
Well, I became aware of it through the news media. I knew there had been a police-involved shooting at the University of Cincinnati Police Department. So I was following the news. Initially, there was very little information to be found. But within a matter of days, 8 to 10 days, I saw that it had been taken to the grand jury. That was shocking to me because in my experience, I've never seen something happen that fast. But the indictment took place, and then Officer Tensing was fired in what I thought was, it was pretty quick. So I then saw some more news accounts and press conferences by the prosecution. And statements that were being made didn't seem to address the validity of a police or the justification of a police-involved shooting. Comments like the officer acted asinine and the recoil of the gun caused the officer to fall to the ground, and they used a quote, "chicken crap stop." I didn't know how that was relevant. So it kind of perked my interest, and I started looking at the video, and I was able, initially it was just a short video, and I was able to go kind of frame by frame and back it up. And then they released I think it was 27-minute tape that was easier to watch from the beginning of the stop all the way through to the end. And once I did that, I realized that nothing in the statements that I saw in the news media were consistent with asking the question about the reasonableness and the objective reasonableness of the shooting. And so I was just piqued my interest, and the more I got involved in it, the more I was convinced that this was something I wanted to involve myself in.
Did you know Ray Tensing?
No, sir.
When did you first meet Ray Tenzing, if you recall?
I don't remember exactly. It was, I believe, in your office. It was long after I filed my report.
And is it correct that you contacted me about this case?
I did.
And are you being paid anything for your testimony today?
No, I'm not.
And why are you here?
I'm here because I feel so strongly about this case and the fact that Ray Tenzing is innocent and justified in this situation, and I don't know how it got this far.
Okay, well, you've made this statement that you think he's innocent and justified. What did you do to arrive at that conclusion?
You provided me with materials that I was able to look at and review, and based on the totality of those materials that I reviewed, it became my opinion that Ray Tenzing was not only justified, but his actions were reasonable and consistent with recognized police practices and training.
Would you tell the jury what specifically you looked at?
I can, is it okay to review or look at my, I guess my report? Among other things, let me get to this page here. I looked at the Hamilton County Crime Laboratory report. There was a few of those, and one involved Officer Tenzing's equipment. One was, another laboratory report. One involved a plastic bottle. I also reviewed the University of Cincinnati Public Safety Police Operations Policies and Procedures, and Officer Tenzing's training and evaluation records. I reviewed audio interviews of Alicia Napier, DeShonda Reed, UC Officer David Linderschmidt, Officer Eric Schenk, UC Officer Philip Kidd, UC Officer Raymond Tenzing, Officers Thomas Wells, Sergeant Dan Carter, Sergeant Nate Asbury. I also reviewed the processing of the Honda Accord and evidence on a disc, and the University of Cincinnati Police Department body-worn camera footage disc, as well as Officer Tenzing at the UC Hospital, CIS photos on a disc, enhanced video enhancement, RD2, Axon, I think that's how you pronounce it, body video enhanced video evidence.
And you also viewed a frame-by-frame
I did.
analysis. Have you seen State's Exhibit number 20, the video analysis prepared by the state's expert Grant Fredericks?
I have.
And have you also looked at a different frame-by-frame DVD?
Yes, sir.
At this time, I would like you to, actually, it's in the machine, Judge.
Okay.
We got the case that came out of it.
Very good.
Exhibit number 4.
And
And you,
the state has seen this and knows what's being loaded. Okay, very good. It'll be admitted and published. Sorry, go ahead, Mr. Matthews.
Mr. Scanlon, are the images contained on Defendant's Exhibit 4 consistent with the images contained on State's Exhibit 20?
They're very similar. I think they could be off by a frame or two, it seemed to me, when I was trying to look at them side by side.
And when you say off by a frame or two, you're referring to the numbering on each
Yes.
of the frames?
Yes, sir.
Would it be beneficial to your explanation to the jury if you were able to look at the frame-by-frame DVD?
Yes, sir, it would.
Can you step down? Would it be best to step off of so you can see it come off of the witness stand?
Yes, sir, it would. It helps you.
Come around here. Mr. Scanlon, I'll kind of let you lead the way if you'd like to start at a particular place and tell the jury what in that frame-by-frame video led you to your conclusions.
Okay, hopefully I've limited it to some degree here to what I think is relevant, but in frame 20 that we have up here right now, obviously it shows Officer Tenzing reaching for the door handle of the car. And if we could go to, I think the next one I'd like to address would be frame number 42. That's when the car door, I believe, starts to open up. If I can see, kind of hard to see, but maybe the next frame. that is in effect, as we will watch over the next few slides here. So you go to 40, 41, 42. You can see, back up just one please. You can see Officer Tensing's arm all the way across that steering wheel, his palms up. At that point, he's in like this, and that left arm of Mr. DeBose is coming over the top of it. That's a conscious life-threatening action by Mr. DeBose. And if you could just go by frame a little bit further. Now you can see the arm has come down, and it has pinned, if you go to the next one, that arm. His arm is all the way down. Tensing's arm is still in there, and that arm is, in my opinion, is trapped. Now we're at 145. If we go to 159, please. This is when, with his arm still in the car, and Tensing's left arm now down on that steering wheel, and his right arm over on the steering wheel itself. That car has already been put in gear. The accelerator has been mashed, and this movement has violently twisted Tensing back to where he's now facing the side and rear of this car. He's facing this direction. That car is in motion. It's not only in motion forward, it is in motion to the left. The wheel has been turned to the left, and it's coming right at him, and he's trying to keep his balance upside down. In this frame, and it'll be probably more clear in the next couple of frames, he has gone down so low that his body camera is now picking up the roof of that vehicle from the inside. And if we could just look at the next one. Now you can see he's moving even forward. You can actually see his cruiser back there. The car is moving and it's coming to the left. For that picture to be taken by that body camera, the only way I can see it is that arm being inside, and Ray Tensing is actually facing backwards. The side of the car is right here, and he is down low enough that the shot is being taken up here. Again, I would be in fear of my life if I was in the situation he was in at that time. We're at 160. So if we could just kind of frame by frame until we get to 168. Again, even lower in this view, the body camera is even lower. He's still looking out the back. The car is obviously moving. And now he's reaching for anything he can because, as he said, that rear tire is coming up on him. He is trying to keep balance in any way he possibly can at this time. I think he's just trying to save his life. Okay. Roughly 190. Now you can see Mr. DeBoe's right hand, as opposed to being down at like a 5 o'clock on that steering wheel, it has turned left and up, and he's up more at a 12 or 11 o'clock, which just further explains that the wheels were turned harder to the left and moved into Officer Tensing. If you can just kind of frame by frame. Again, just struggling, kind of being backwards. Again, right now you see it's an upward motion of the body cam. The only way that can happen is for him to be down in a position like this. Okay, and if we could just kind of go through 207, 208. The gun now is up, and the gun is up one-handed in his dominant gun hand, and he is still, you can still see that Fear of life makes sense to me. Fear of being seriously injured or killed makes a lot of sense to me. Trying to stop that threat and stay alive makes a lot of sense to me. We can go ahead 20 slides, and we'll still see Officer Tenzing being dragged. You can see a greater distance between the cruiser now that he stopped and where he is. He's still attached to his car, and it's still coming into him to the left. All right, 229. This is when Officer Tenzing loses grip with the vehicle and starts to fall to the pavement. And just frame by frame now. You see him going down even further now. You see Tash, he's falling, but the car, Mr. DeVoe's car, is still coming at him to the left, so it's coming closer to him as he's falling backwards. You can see the distance now from the cruiser. That was the initial stop. There's been quite a distance traveled in that period of time. Now you can see Officer Tenzing's left foot by that left rear wheel. That is precariously close. And that's how oftentimes officers are killed in these situations, where they come off this vehicle and that rear wheel crawls up over the top of them and crushes them. That just narrowly escaped crawling right up his leg. Now you can see even a greater distance from where he came off that car. Now you'll see, and you can just kind of keep going as we're at 239. You see Officer Tenzing skidding and turning 180 degrees on his back with the camcorder facing upward. If you would see, you can see just a bit of his face. You can see a car going by him but narrowly missing, going the opposite direction. That just narrowly missing. So the rear wheel coming over him narrowly missing. That car going past narrowly missing. And this is just prior to Mr. DeVoe's car crashing into the car. If we keep going, it just continues to show how far he skidded. The car again coming by. Just of note is he still got his pistol under control. After being through what he has, his training must have kicked in. To be able to maintain that kind of pistol control at this time is commendable. Again, he's spinning, coming to arrest here soon. 260. Yeah, he's continuing to just keep going. It continues to show him spinning and trying to regain his feet. Shows some of the markers here as far as signs that he had traveled so far as being lined up with. Again, the car that narrowly missed the stop sign that indicates how far he had moved from the original stop. Again, maintaining pretty excellent physical control here for someone who's been thrown violently to the ground. There's no way, by the way, in my experience as 33 years as a police officer and training for 19 years in these situations, that the recoil of a 40 caliber pistol can possibly cause a grown adult to fall. So he's maintaining
Resume your seat.
Yes, sir. The only thing I didn't bring up on that, Mr. Matthews, was the positioning of the front wheels. On that car, probably in the first few frames, that were completely straight, that further indicated to me that the car had to be turned violently to the left.
Thank you. Mr. Scanlon, you indicated that as part of your review, you also listened to the statement that Ray Tenzing provided to Sergeant Hine and Detective McGuffey at the Criminal Investigation Section.
Yes, sir, I did.
2 days after this event?
Yes,
You
sir.
listened to that?
Yes, sir.
Was there anything that you heard on that statement that was inconsistent with what you see in that video?
There was nothing inconsistent.
Okay, we heard on the statement at one point Ray indicated that his hand was caught in the steering wheel. Later in the statement he said it was at or near the steering wheel.
Right, and either way, when you're being forced to the back, whether it's in the steering wheel, alongside the steering wheel, and I don't know that those pictures absolutely confirm one way or the other. We know it was pressed up against the wheel by Mr. DeBoe's left arm. Beyond that, we didn't always see that arm.
And again, is it your opinion, or you do have an opinion, correct, as
Yes,
to
sir.
whether this was justified, this use of lethal force was justified?
Yes, sir.
And what is your opinion?
My opinion is that the actions of Ray Tenzing were justified, they were reasonable, and they were consistent with all recognized police training, tactics, and practices.
And as a police officer and a trainer of police officers in the military, have you taught use of force classes?
I incorporate use of force and use of deadly force classes in every school that I do, whether it be SWAT schools, response to active shooter, advanced patrol practicals.
Do you ever teach people to shoot to kill?
No, sir.
Do you ever teach them to shoot to wound?
No, sir.
What do you teach?
We teach officers to shoot to stop the threat, whatever it takes to stop the threat, and then finish the fight and use no more force than you have to accomplish that.
And as a police officer during your career, did you ever reach into a vehicle?
Oh, yes, sir, on a number of occasions. It's not something we encourage, but it's something everyone does on occasion if they've worked the street long enough.
And are you familiar with the OPATA manual?
Yes, sir.
Are you familiar with the section about vehicle stops and approaches?
I am.
Are you familiar with the language in there that an officer should never reach into a vehicle or grab anything near the suspect with their dominant hand?
That is true, and it says should. It's not a total prohibition. It's not will or shall, it's should. And so it's not a total mandate or prohibition, even when you're reaching in with your non-gun hand.
And what would you define the dominant hand as?
It's your gun hand.
Thank you. May I have just a moment, Judge?
Take your time.
Mr. Scanlon, can you come around here and look at one other frame here? Scanlon, could you take a look at that and the frames, that you recognize that as the frame-by-frame analysis done by Mr. Fredericks, correct?
Yes, sir.
And can you look at that photograph or that frame and subsequent frames and tell anything on that particular video versus the one you just used, Defendant's Exhibit 4, as far as the difference in the position of Mr. DuBose's hand on the steering wheel?
Yeah, this one shows that Mr. DuBose has his right arm extended to roughly the 12 or 11 o'clock position on the steering wheel, which would indicate to me that he's turning hard to the left.
Okay, and I noticed that the way that is laid out, is there a difference from the frame-by-frame that we have produced?
That's what confused me initially is I didn't understand when I first saw this what the framing was all about. I still don't really understand that completely. There was a lot of different etching and writing on different slides.
Okay.
But it's a little different. Some slides were more clear on ours than the one I initially used.
Thank you. I have nothing further.
Cross.
Mr. Mayor, would you agree that, for the record, that what they're looking at is what's marked as State's Exhibit 20?
Yes.
Grant Fredericks' videos, is that correct? Or slides, is that correct? Because it's not the one that's marked, I just want to make sure.
Yes, that's a copy you gave us.
Okay, very good. Good morning, Mr. Scanlon.
Good morning.
You and I have never met, have we? I've
No,
done
sir,
some
not to my
work
knowledge.
in Franklin County for the prosecutors, a special prosecutor from time to time, but we've never met, is that correct?
Not that I recall, sir.
All right, so you came down and after watching this on the news, and you volunteered to be an expert for Mr. Matthews, is that correct, Mr. Tenzing?
I did. I contacted Mr. Matthews and gave him my initial thoughts on it and wondered if I could see more of the materials to draw a conclusion. I wasn't able to draw a conclusion until I saw the rest of the materials.
All right. And I noted in your report, sir, at least 3 times you wrote this statement, or something substantially the equivalent of this statement, that you reserve the right to change your opinions if and when additional materials are made available. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
I think you noted that in the very first paragraph of your report. You noted it on page 4, paragraph 6, and you noted it right at the end, page 9, paragraph 5. Is that true?
I'm sure I did.
All right. And that's understandable, sir. Would you agree with me, your opinion is only as good as the information that you have to base it on?
That is true.
If you get information that's false, or if you get information that's incomplete, that might adversely affect your opinion.
Yes, sir.
All right, and that's why you put that statement in there?
I always know that more information can come forward in long an investigation. So I always want to state that if there's more information I can see, the better I'm going to be able to make an adequate opinion out of it.
All right, and you would agree with me, sir, that you're not a forensic video analyst?
That is true.
And did you ever, prior to writing your report, sit down with a forensic video analyst and have him walk you through exactly what you're seeing?
I did not.
You just looked at the video on your own?
Yes, sir, many times.
Okay, and you did it in, I think you said, in a frame-by-frame manner, is that correct?
I went frame by frame. I went real speed. I tried to slow it down. I did everything I could to see basically frame by frame.
All right, and you did indicate that you, at some point, got a chance to review Grant Fredericks' analysis, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
When did you first see Grant Fredericks' analysis of this body-worn camera video?
I honestly don't know.
Well, was it 6 months ago? When was it in relation to your report? Let me ask it that way. After your report?
It may very well have been after my report. I don't know for sure.
Okay. Your report is in January the 14th of this year, is that correct?
I believe it is.
And if Grant Fredericks was sometime in late August, early September of this year, obviously would have been after your report was completed, correct?
Okay, yes, sir.
And prior to that time, again, you had never gone through this video with a forensic video analyst?
That is correct.
In essence, when it comes to breaking down video like this, you're a lay person just like anyone on the jury. Would you agree with that?
Not exactly.
No?
I can stop the tape. The quality of the tape was such that I could stop it on each individual frame. I was just using my eyes
I understand.
to capture what I saw happening.
Just like the jurors would.
That's correct.
All right. Let me ask you this, Mr. Scanlon. Would it be fair to say that the conclusions that you've set forth with the jury here today are based on your findings that, first off, Ray Tenzing was caught in that vehicle, that Ray Tenzing was being dragged by that vehicle, that Ray Tenzing never removed his gun and pointed it at Samuel Dubose until after the car had accelerated, and that at the time he pulled his gun, the vehicle was moving and accelerating rapidly. I think those are your words, and he needed to produce his handgun to stop the threat. Is that the basis of your opinion?
I believe there's a couple in there that are erroneous, so if you want to go one by one, I might be able to do better.
Well, all right. At the time this gun was fired, did you believe that Ray Tenzing was hung up in the vehicle?
I do.
And at the time this gun was fired, this handgun was fired, do you believe that Ray Tenzing, the vehicle of Samuel Dubose, was accelerating rapidly?
I do.
That it moved how far?
No one seems to know, but it clearly had moved.
That's your opinion.
In my opinion, it clearly was in gear, and it clearly was moving and rapidly accelerating.
And that at what point did Ray Tenzing reach for and produce his service weapon and point it at Samuel Dubose? After the movement?
We will never know when Officer Tenzing pulled his weapon.
Okay. Is it safe to say that he pulled his weapon after the weapon, or after the vehicle began to move?
Oh, I don't know that.
Okay.
I never saw anything that would indicate that we know that conclusively.
Because his right hand leaves the hood of the car or the roof of the car? Is that correct?
Oh, no, I wouldn't take that as that's exactly when he pulled. I never saw a frame or any indication of when he pulled his weapon.
Well, from the time Ray Tenzing lunges into Samuel Dubose's car, how long does the rest of this event up to the shot take?
Oh, I've heard seconds. I've heard a different. I watched the progression of it, but I never saw anything. We don't know how long it took him to pull his gun. You're asking me to speculate on when he pulled his...
I'm not asking you to speculate on anything, sir. I'm asking you to tell the jurors what you found as a layperson when you went through this video.
Okay. Yeah, he pulled his weapon once he was hung up in the car. The car was moving. He felt in fear of his life, and he shot Mr. Dubose as that car was accelerating.
And that's what he told the Cincinnati police 2 days later. Is that correct? He was being dragged. He was sliding down. He felt he was about to be sucked under that car, which was accelerating forward. Is that what he told the police?
That is.
And only then did he produce his handgun and fired at Samuel Dubose.
If you're going to try, I can't tell you when he pulled the gun. I can tell you
But
when
is that
shot.
what he said in his statement?
Well, certainly he...
Yes. Let the witness finish his answer, please, Mr.
Okay, finish your answer, sir.
Certainly at some point he pulled his weapon, and then we saw the gun come into the frame, and he shot Mr. Dubose.
Thank you. You may have answered a question. It wasn't the one I asked.
No.
What did Ray Tenzing himself tell the Cincinnati Police Department as to when he pulled his gun? After he was being dragged? Is that true or not?
That was
true?
my understanding. I can't tell you the exact question in that interview, and I don't want to misspeak.
Okay. Let me ask you this. When Ray Tenzing approached the vehicle, did he maintain, at least initially, a proper place to approach? Did he stand at or slightly behind that B pillar?
Yes, sir.
All right. And that is a correct way to approach in a driver's side approach. Is that correct?
That is one way, yes.
Okay. And why is that? Why do you want to stay at or behind the B pillar?
Well, until you see the actual hands of the suspect that's in the vehicle or the person, the violator you're stopping, you want to come up and have them have to turn to look at you in a way that you can assess where their hands are, if there's any weapons in the car, whatever. So until you can evaluate where their hands are and what's going on, you want to stay back just a bit. Oftentimes, it's not a mandate, but it's normally what you do.
If you're back at or behind that B pillar, you're not going to get run over, are you?
Oh, I wouldn't say that at all.
No. The cars move straight to the left. They go forward and backward, don't they?
No, they go front and back and right and left.
Well,
I would not
if the
assure.
wheels turn and you're at the B pillar, how are you run over by that car?
If
Not
the
if you're
car-
leaning in, if you're standing by the B pillar.
If the car violently jerks to the left and knocks you to the ground, that car can proceed over the top of you, and it's happened before.
Do you make that event even more likely when you lunge into the car?
I didn't see him lunge into the car.
You didn't see Ray Tenzing lunge into the car?
I won't call it lunging. To me would be diving into the car with your body. He reached into the vehicle to get the keys. That's what I saw.
And in his statement, he said he reached through the opening in the steering wheel. Did he not say that?
You know, I don't think it was conclusive in that. I don't think he actually, I don't think he said it definitively, that he said that was a probability.
How many times did you review Ray Tenzing's statement?
Many times.
Would you like a minute to review it again?
Sure.
Okay. Judge, I don't know if we have those. Maybe take about a 5-minute break.
Sure.
Get that evidence for Mr. Scanlon.
No problem. Ladies and gentlemen, let's take a brief recess. Remember, the admonitions do not discuss the case among yourselves. Do not allow anyone to discuss it with you. Do not form or express an opinion on the case until finally submitted to you. All rise for the jury. Oh, okay. You may be seated. It's fine. Go ahead. Sorry about that.
Yes, sir.
You're all set there.
The jury's ready, Tim?
About 1:30.
All rise. You may be seated. Go ahead and proceed, Mr. Gibson.
Thank you, Judge. You had a chance to review the statement Ray Tenzing gave Cincinnati police homicide investigators 2 days later on July the 21st, 2015?
Yes, sir.
Does he tell Cincinnati police officers in that interview that his hand was hung up in the steering wheel?
I found what I think is it. Can I read it to you?
Yes, please.
In my hand and my left arm, it somehow got caught or tangled up in the steering wheel as he accelerated.
Okay, and that's at page 4, am I correct?
Yes, sir.
And he said it more times than that, did he not?
I believe I didn't go all the way through it, and
Page
I don't...
9, did he say, that's when I got my arm caught somewhere in the steering wheel? That would be at line 4.
That's when I got my arm caught somewhere in the steering wheel. And I don't dispute that. I'm convinced it was caught and pinned.
Also at page 9, line 10, did he say, I was trying to reach around the wheel through the steering wheel to knock the key out of the ignition? Did he say that?
He did.
Did you find anywhere on the video where you can see his hand going through the wheel and being caught?
I see his arm caught, as he had stated. I didn't see it go through the steering wheel.
What's it caught on?
It's caught under Mr. DeBoe's left arm that came down and trapped it against the steering wheel.
Did you see him later in the video, just about the time the shot is fired, did you see him reach around and grab the seatbelt that's reaching across Samuel DeBoe's chest?
I saw him grasping for anything he could, it looked like to me. But yes, it was in the neighborhood of the seatbelt.
In the video that you saw, did Ray Tenzing enumerate any threat other than the threat that he was going to be run over because he was being dragged?
He started indicating threat levels escalating from the time he went to pull the car over. The fact that it was slow to stop, it was just something, the whole situation just continued to escalate from just threat levels to outright physical threats, yes.
Did he ever indicate to you that he saw or thought he saw any weapon other than the car? I believe you say the car is a weapon here, is that correct?
Oh, absolutely, yes, sir.
Did he indicate whether he saw, for example, a gun in the car or suspected a gun in the car?
Never.
Okay. His only fear was that he was going to be run over at that point, that he produced the gun and fired the shot. Is that correct?
That's my opinion, yes.
All right. Now, he indicated that as his car took off, he was pulled and being dragged, and he was sliding down. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And in that statement that you've had a chance to read today, he indicated that at the time he decided to produce his handgun and fire the shot, his head or his eye level was about at the lower part of that driver's side window. Is that correct?
It appeared to be low.
Is that what he said?
Yeah, if you want me to speak to everyone, I mean, I've reviewed this, but I'm not going to misspeak and tell you something in here
Did you not
verbatim.
look at what Ray Tenzing said to the police officer?
Oh, I certainly
Did you not
did.
compare that to what's in the video?
I certainly did.
Did he say that or not, that I was sliding down the vehicle?
I'm not going to remark on something that I reviewed and try to get verbatim what you're asking for. I'm not
Sure,
going to
you read that, you reviewed that for the last time you reviewed it was about 30 seconds.
Oh, if you wanted me to read the entire statement, I thought you were asking me to review what was applicable to the steering wheel and being caught against it or in it.
Okay, let me ask you this. Assuming Ray Tenzing's face or eye eyes are at the level of that door. All right, you follow me so far? When he's being dragged?
Yes, sir.
Where is the body-worn camera that he's wearing? Where is that attached?
The body-worn camera was attached to his chest, in the chest area, lapel.
Left lapel or breast pocket?
Yes, sir.
So if his head is at the level of the lower part of the driver's side window, what is that camera photographing? What is it making video of?
Well, the angle I assumed he was at would indicate that he wasn't necessarily straight up from the camera, but off to the side and leaning backward as what it showed on the video.
So he's not being dragged along the side door, as he said, so that the camera would have been filming that driver's side door.
That's not what I said.
But that's what he said, isn't it?
What he's saying, he was being dragged backwards. He was dragged alongside of the door, and you could actually see it move and drag him backwards.
Mr. Scanlon, as you showed on this video the other day, as you just demonstrated, you indicate that his hand was pinned.
Yes, sir.
And the vehicle starts to accelerate forward.
Yes.
Are you telling this juror that at that point he spins to the back like this rather than forward into the door?
Yes, because if you look at his hands, his elbow was locked. There's no way he could bend the elbow and go forward.
And you're sure this vehicle was then going forward, not backward?
I am sure it was going forward and to the left.
When he made the decision to remove his service weapon and shoot Samuel DuBose, what did he say about that and his conscious decision to do?
In his statement, he indicated he pulled his weapon because he intended to shoot Mr. DuBose.
All right. And what part of Mr. DuBose did he intend to shoot?
I have no indication that he wanted to do anything but stop the threat.
Okay, that's a nice, clean, sanitized term. What part of Mr. DuBose's body was visible to him?
What was visible at that time was his head.
And did he indicate that that's the part of the body he fired his .40 caliber service weapon at?
I think it's obvious that that's what he fired at, yes, sir.
Okay, well, just making sure we're on the same page. You've been a police officer 33 years, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And a SWAT officer, a weapon, a .40 caliber semi-automatic handgun fired into the left temple of a person at a distance of 1 to 2 feet. What's the likely outcome of that?
It's likely to stop the threat. It's also likely to be a life-threatening shot.
Thank you. I appreciate that. In your report, you made note of when you referred to this gin bottle that contained cologne. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And you indicate, and I think we're on page 6, paragraph 4, you write, experienced police officers are aware that air freshener is often used by drug dealers to mask the scent of marijuana and other drugs. Did you put that in your report?
I did, sir.
And where did that come from in this investigation? Where did you see it anywhere? Did Samuel DuBose mention it?
No, sir.
At any time in his statement to the police, did he say he was in fear for Samuel DuBose? Ray Tensing say to police that he was afraid because he believed Samuel DuBose to be a drug dealer. Did
No,
he
sir.
say that?
He did not.
In fact, when asked specifically about drugs and alcohol, he said he had no reason to believe or to suspect, or no hint that this particular driver was under the influence of drugs or alcohol. Is that correct?
That is true.
So where did that come from? Did you just gratuitously add that?
I threw it in because it's a fact.
Okay. Well, it's not relevant to Ray Tensing, is it? Because if it had been, he would have expressed it, correct?
That is true.
Did you ever go to the scene of this incident?
Yes, sir.
Who took you there?
Mr. Matthews?
Okay. Peggy, could you help me with this? Mr. Scanlon, I'm going to need you to come where you can see that, that video board, please. Now, in your testimony, sir, you've indicated several times that when you viewed the video in this case, that the car was clearly moving and that it was clearly accelerating. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
What did you base that on? Did you have some points of reference or something like that? Because I never heard you indicate any of that to the jury.
Okay, I'm sorry. The car started, of course, in other than frame by frame, I was also able to listen to the audio that was attached to the film itself.
Was that lined up correctly on the video you saw? Did the audio and the video sync?
I don't know that for a fact.
Because you're not a forensic video analyst, correct? Okay.
But my conclusion is because I clearly on video watched Mr. Rose start the car, drop his right hand down to the gear shift, and I could hear the car accelerating. At the same time I heard the car accelerating, I could see Officer Tenzing's body being violently thrown against the car and the face of the rear of the car. That to me indicated the car had.
You didn't look at any other items as points of reference or anything like that?
I was looking at the same thing that Mr. Fredericks had pointed out in the car, and I think that was based on the fact though that the car was just going forward as opposed to forward and left. So yeah, I did see the references he made to the cars and the landmarks.
All right. Peggy, for you, is that 131? All right. Is this the point at which Ray Tenzing is about to ask, and I don't think he ever did ask him to step out of the car, despite what you wrote in your report. What he said was, would you, till I can figure out if you have a license, why don't you take off your seatbelt?
Yes, sir.
All right. He never did actually ask him to get out of the car, correct?
You mentioned the seatbelt and then you reached to open up the door.
Okay. And that's where we are right here, correct?
Yes.
And you see, would that be Officer Tenzing's right hand on the roof of the car?
Oh, yes, sir, it is.
And you note Grant Frederick's notation on there that at this point we are exactly 2.39 seconds from the shot being fired. Is that correct?
That's what he said.
Do you have a dispute with that? Do you have a better timing of these events than that?
No, sir.
Peggy, if you could play us through a little bit. Tell you when to stop. Right there. Go back one. At this point, Ray Tenzing's right hand has now left the roof of the car. Do you agree with that?
Yes, sir.
Do we ever see that hand again until it comes up with a gun?
Not to my knowledge.
And we are 2.35 seconds now from the shot being fired.
Okay.
Do you agree with that?
I don't know if it's true. I know that that's what he said, and I can.
You can't dispute it, because you're not a forensic video analyst, correct?
That's correct.
All right, go ahead. Starting the car here.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And Tenzing is leaning into the car. He's not lunging, you said. He's leaning.
No, I say he's reaching into the car. That's just how I would do it.
Go ahead. Wait a second. You stop. See the driveway that is across the street, and there's a vehicle in that driveway, is there not?
Yes, sir.
And would you agree that in order for Officer Tenzing to have been dragged, this car had to have been moving?
I think the car would go. I'd be in my life once the car was in here like I was.
But that's not what you said. You said he was being dragged. Ray Tenzing was being dragged.
Yeah, I think he was.
Okay. And would you agree with me then that the car had to be moving for him to be dragged?
That's right. That moved.
And you notice as a point of reference, that driveway with the car parked in it where the stop took place?
Yes.
Okay, we're now 2.2 seconds from the shot. Am I right about that? I'm not asking you to agree with it, but that's the timing by Grant Fredericks?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You still see that driveway, don't you, in the next one?
Yes, sir.
2.1 seconds from the shot?
Yes.
And you still see Ray Tenzing's hand reaching in?
Yes, sir.
It's not through the steering wheel, is it?
No, it's not.
Keep going. You agree that at this image 142 that Samuel Dubose left hand is moving upward?
It's moving toward Officer Tenzing's arms.
Is it? You're
It's
seeing
in my
still,
head it is.
it's not moving
It's
up.
come from here out.
Okay. Stop. 146. I think in yours, you had the vehicle accelerating forward at 150, did you not?
I believe I did.
Okay. You agree it's not in motion at this point?
I wouldn't necessarily stipulate that. I think the car was moved. I don't know when it actually took off in the screen or not. But
How long does it have to be moving forward before we can't see this driveway in this car, sir?
I have no idea.
We're now 1.875 seconds from the shot. Go ahead, Peggy.
That's when it's moved.
Do you think it's moving now?
I do.
So in the next few frames, we ought to be, that driveway should no longer be in our view if we're looking straight through the passenger compartment.
I wouldn't agree with that.
You wouldn't?
No. I think the car is moving left and it's moving forward. And I don't think it has to move very far, so I don't think, for that to not be in the unit, well, that car would have to travel, I don't know how many.
Because you're not a forensic video expert.
Right.
Did you ever put a time on when the shot was fired?
A time?
Were you able to look at a frame and say, that's when the shot was fired?
I don't know that, I think I did. If you want to get into it. I can't tell you exactly. I was going by sound, I was also with frame by frame. In frame by frame, I can tell when I think the car is when we right on the front to the left and spinning.
Has that already happened?
Yes.
That's already happened.
What did
Because he's already been thrown violently, as you say, Ken.
Yes, I believe
So
so.
he's now facing backwards?
He's not facing backwards yet, but in the next couple, he's starting to turn backwards. He's gone from this position to this position.
That camera shows where his chest points, does it not?
It does.
So if he lunges in like this, I'm sorry, as he reaches in like this, and as he reaches with his right hand for his gun, would that not turn his chest toward the right or toward the back of the car? You wouldn't agree to that?
I don't know that that's necessary. I don't.
Did you see that reflection there?
I do.
He's standing, he's not pushed up against the car, would you agree to that?
No, I would agree that his left leg is stationary, his knee now is raised, which is consistent with what I thought. I can see the knee is bent.
So the fact that there's enough distance between the legs and the car to let light through to show a reflection of the legs on the car, that doesn't indicate to you that he's not being dragged there?
No, not at all. And it also indicates here that he's yelling, stop.
Yes. Stop what?
I said, stop the car.
Maybe.
I mean,
Maybe. So the car's really accelerating rapidly now. Is that what you're
it
saying?
sounded like it on the tape, and it looks as though he's been violently strung to the left.
And again, on the video you saw, you can't say whether some of the images were off. Is that correct?
Images,
That you looked at, did they not match up with these?
they might have been off. There was a couple between this one and the other one that may have been off a frame or two, but neither one of these was safe to buy.
And you don't know if the one you looked at was synced, the audio and the video were synced, am I
Are you
correct?
talking about frame by frame graphs, or are you talking about the?
Video and the audio.
I had no indication that was a problem. There was no indication that.
I'm asking you.
Oh.
All right, go ahead. That look like the driveway we're still in front of?
I see what it looks like.
It is 1:66 or 1.2 seconds. How long was that right hand out of view?
I have no idea.
That's second, second and a half?
I have no idea.
Got the timing up there, it should be fine, correct?
I would imagine.
That barrel of the gun coming out,
I see the entire gun right
okay, 1.1 second. See both his left arm moving upward in this picture.
I see it moving.
Can I ask you a question? We're now at, that last one's image 168, this 160. Does it look like he's doing this? No, that doesn't look like this.
I never got the indication from the photo that he was.
Sure.
Keep your voices up, gentlemen.
You're sure about that?
I'm telling you what I viewed on here, what my opinion is, that the car was still accelerating, and still turning to the left, as indicated with his right arm. In the following frame, you'll see that arm come around even more, as if he's still starting.
We're still in front of the driveway, am I right?
That's a
driveway, that's the car.
The driveway is still in view, yes.
Still in view there?
Yes, sir.
Still in view there?
Yes, sir.
We're now almost exactly a second before the shot. The gun is clearly visible, is that right?
Yes, sir.
We're still in front of the driveway.
Yes, sir.
And you see him hold Mr. Tente holding onto that seatbelt?
I see him grabbing for it. I don't know if he's actually got a hold of it because his fingers look like they're low with his. But I see his grasp. I see his hand though.
And he's grabbing same with the or the seatbelt.
Reaching, of course. Yeah. I see him reaching. I don't know what he has hold of.
Less than a second now for the shot fired, correct?
Yes, sir.
See the police cars that were parked behind him are still right there, view on that last video, on that last slide.
Can't tell. Let's keep on seeing the back.
His chest is above the level of that door frame, that window.
Yes, sir.
He's able to video and look down into the passenger compartment.
Well, I don't know where his head was, but I know where his, all I know is where the body camera was at the time. So I-
Sir, let me ask you a question. Anything you've seen, based on the work by the forensic video analyst Grant Fredericks, that caused you to make you rethink your opinion?
No, sir.
Well, 3 times in your report, you indicated if you were given additional information, you reserved the right to change. You're not going to change based on this?
Oh, absolutely not.
You're not going to change based on anything, are you?
Oh, I would if I saw something that would indicate that that was not a justified shooting, but in my opinion, that car was put in gear, the accelerator was mashed, and I would be in fear of my life once that happened if my arm was stuck in a car.
I didn't see it stuck, but that's all right. Let me ask you this question. The jurors are going to decide this case, not you. If they disagree, if they find that at no time was Ray Tenzing hung up in that car, at no time was he dragged, that when he reached for that service weapon, that .40 caliber handgun, and brought it up and aimed it at Samuel Dubose, at the time that gun came up and aimed, 1/10 of a second from him firing the shot that killed Samuel Dubose, they would be justified, or they would be correct in finding this not justified, correct?
I would never question their decision.
Judge, I don't have any further questions.
Very good. Redirect.
Mr. Scanlon, you indicated that you're not an expert forensic video analyst, correct?
That is correct, sir.
That you have 33 years of experience as a police officer,
Yes, sir.
and you've taught use of force and you understand use of force?
That is correct.
You have a pair of eyes, right?
Yes, sir.
I see you wear glasses. Are they still work, correct?
I need them for reading, sir.
And you can look at that video just like the 12 people on this jury can look at that video, and you've expressed your opinion based on your 33 years of experience in what you've seen there, that this was a justified use of lethal force, correct?
That is correct, sir.
And your opinion is not any better than the opinion of these 12 people individually and collectively. Would that be correct?
That is correct.
But your opinion is based on experience.
Yes, sir.
Now, Mr. Gibson had you look at Officer Tenzing's statement to Detective Hine, or Sergeant Hine, and Detective McDuffie at CIS on July 21st. And he read you some lines where Ray Tenzing indicated that his hand was caught in the steering wheel. Would you look at page 17, line 17, and read that, please?
I don't recall exactly. All I know is it was just stuck inside his vehicle, and I could not dislodge it and get free.
He's referring to his arm and hand?
Yes, the question asked was, okay, so was your arm twisted while you were holding on? Do you recall? And his response was, I don't recall exactly. All I know is it was just stuck inside his vehicle, and I could not dislodge it or get free.
And would you agree with me, Mr. Scanlon, that every shoot, don't shoot situation is unique?
Absolutely.
And would you agree with me that, well, first of all, what's your definition of 20/20 hindsight?
But something we're not supposed to use in these situations that happen in a chaotic matter of seconds. And so 20/20 hindsight is discouraged in our training, and it's been handed down to us by law.
And would you agree that what we are engaged in here in this trial is basically 20/20 hindsight?
Oh, there's no doubt about that.
Mr. Scanlon, have you seen this particular video before?
Yes, I have.
Could you play that, please, Dave? That is the length of this entire incident, correct? What we have spent the last 12 days or 10 days, whatever it is, talking about.
Yes.
Thank you.
Would you define that as a split-second type of situation?
I would.
Rapidly evolving?
Yes, sir.
Nothing.
Any recross?
No, Your Honor.
Very good. Is this witness released, Mr. Matthews?
Yes, Judge.
Any objection?
No.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Scanlon, for your time. You are free to leave the building. Counsel approach off the record. Right, ladies and gentlemen, the time is 10:30. This is a good time to take our morning recess. We'll take about a 15-minute comfort break. Remember the admonitions: do not discuss the case among yourselves, do not allow anyone